Hello, everybody. I can see the people are slowly joining our webinar. We can see the number of participants growing. So we're going to allow a couple of minutes for everybody to join. Let us know in the chat where you're from. Is it hot? Do you have air conditioning in your apartment or in your office? And our team is going to share a few polls more related to our topic today, to the competitors. Don't hesitate to vote in those polls. We're really curious to learn more about you. And then we're going to start in just a few seconds. Well, in a few minutes. Let's see. Aileen is working remotely. I hope your home office
AC,
is
though.
equipped.
Oh my God.
No.
This is no AC. Oh my God.
This is a
I
tough
hope you work
situation.
remotely up in the north, Norway or something, so you don't need the AC. Because if you're in the south, oh boy.
Have you checked the temperatures in Norway? I'm gonna check that. Maybe it's also 36.
It's still hot.
Oslo, let's see. No, it's 22 in Oslo, so
All right.
that's
22.
not bad. So let me see. We have a question in the poll. What genre do you work with? So since we're mostly be focusing on the games today, we'll be really curious to know more about it. Don't hesitate to vote. And how often do you research the market is another question we really want to know about, because we will be focusing on these topics today. Nice, Denmark.
Nice.
So I think we've been diligent enough waiting a couple of minutes. The couple of minutes has finished. So let's start webinar. Our today's topic is, are you analyzing the right competitors? And it's true that choosing the right competitors to benchmark against can make a difference between just a winning strategy and a completely wasted effort. But how do you know you're comparing yourself against the right apps? This is the question we will hopefully be able to answer today. We will explore how to identify your true competitors, how to uncover the strategies that drive their success, and just as importantly, we're going to learn from their mistakes, from the mistakes they've already made, so that you can make smarter and more data-driven decisions. And we have two teams presenting today and running this webinar. We have AppFollow and myself. I'm Veronica, Customer Success Manager, and we have Kirill, the Head of Inbound Sales at AppMagic.
Hi. Hey, guys.
With that short introduction, I'd like to pass the microphone to Kirill, who's going to start talking about the competitors.
Yes, that's what I'm here to do, is to talk about how you find and analyze the right competitors, because as a matter of fact, it's a big issue. It's a big challenge for a lot of the studios, a lot of the developers on the market. They have the ways, the means to analyze the data and analyze their competition, but they're just looking not the right way. They're looking not the right direction. They're not analyzing the full picture, and that really hurts their ability to use the data to their advantage. So that's why we're here today, to clear that confusion, to make sure that in future, when you open up AppMagic, AppFollow, whatever the case is, next time, you know the best approach to look at the data. So starting with the most common issue, the most common kind of a contradiction, is that people obviously sometimes look at the biggest game of the market and they're not looking at the full picture. So here's a good example. I'm looking at, right now we're looking at the sort, puzzle, genre within the hybrid casual taxonomy, right? So all of the most popular recently released games. So if you look at the top chart, you'll see that Pixel Flow is definitely the biggest game of the market. So it doesn't really make sense to look at anything or anyone else, because this game makes more money than anyone else and everyone else combined. So why would you bother looking at everyone else? Besides, you can get enough data about them that by just looking at their downloads and revenue, even if it's static numbers. So for example, right now we're looking at their what's called app page. It doesn't matter, but you notice that they have a lot of downloads in the US. A lot of their revenues coming from the US, and also majority of their players are female. So now you have a better understanding of what this game is focusing in terms of geography and what kind of audience they try to get to, because a lot of their players are female. You can also check out how they do their ASO things, and Veronica will touch upon that later. But even by looking at screenshots, descriptions, you can already tell what kind of strategy they use, what kind of strategy they utilize. So they mainly show the gameplay. Not a big fan myself of the gameplay of the game itself. I just couldn't understand the appeal, like what's there to play. But again, it's just my opinion, because the market seems to think differently. These guys are making $15 million every month, so that's crazy. And then yeah, you can even get down to like the monetization strategies that they use by looking at the top eye in a purchase basically. So the most popular offer that sells like crazy would be 1K gold for $2, but they also do have things for $30 and $35. So talk about hybrid casual. These prices are not casual, at least that's what I think. But yeah, so you look at the game, you look at everything, you think that this is the right project, the right competitor to look at, because it's by far the biggest game, and that's why you have to analyze it. But then if you look at the dynamics of this game, so we're looking at their revenue right now, you'll notice that yes, it makes a lot of money, but it started making less money than it used to. So in March, the number was $18 million. If you look at May, the number was a little bit lower, $18 million. And if you look at June, this number is down to $15 million. It's still a lot of money, trust me. But it's, is this the pattern you want to see for the market leader, for the game you're trying to get inspired by? Because yes, they had their moment to shine, but they're going down. So your next thought would be, oh well, the biggest game is going down, so there is no hope for this market anymore, because the biggest market with all the means and resources to stay at the top is going down. So maybe the market, this little genre, this little pocket is doomed because the biggest game is going down. You can go and check out whether it's the case or not by again looking at the performance of the overall market of the sword puzzle genre, and you'll see that in reality, despite the biggest game going down, market is still up. It's up compared to April. It's up compared to, well, it's not up compared to May, but it's up compared to April. It's up compared to March. So even though what seemingly the biggest game is going down, the market is doing pretty fine. The performance is great. So the next question is, how is this happening and why is this happening? If the biggest game is going down, who else is contributing to the overall market's growth? So yeah, we're going back to the top charts, to which everyone can have access. And you notice that the second game here, Yard Loop, yes, it makes 1/5 of Pixel Flow's revenue, but they went up 50 places compared to Pixel Flow's 2. So maybe the volume, the scale of their revenue and magnitude of their revenue is not on the same level yet. The rate of growth is nothing short of fantastical, phenomenal. So that's why you go and say, maybe, just maybe, I can give a try and analyze these guys. So you open up Yarn Loop expecting the same things, but first thing you notice is these guys have more focus on the US, because for Pixel Flow, we saw 35% of their downloads being from the US. For these guys, it's 63% from the US. And then the same goes for revenue. Again, in Pixel Flow, the number was, I think, 60%. Here it's 78%, which is higher. And then the main factor, the main difference would be the gender. So again, for Pixel Flow, it was also mainly female, but it was not 85% female. So Yarn Loop is trying to target a female audience more. So even though the genre is the same and it's seemingly the same games, these guys have a more of a shift towards female audience, and that is apparent if you look at the theme, that it's more yarn and everything, and that supports the idea that they are targeting female. But also, it's nice to look at the fact that these guys are growing, because if you go to their revenue, to their graph, you will see that these guys are not down. In fact, These guys are up, and they've been going up for the last 6 months in a row. So these guys are doing better. Well, again, in terms of like rate of growth, they're doing better than the pixel flow, right? So this is really nice to look at. And then supporting the idea that they target different audiences, what you can do, because again, we're talking about audiences here, is you can open up the ad intelligence to analyze their creatives, select these two games. I'm going to go with yarn loop, and then pixel flow. And again, the difference will be even more apparent. So two games, one's bigger, one's smaller. And you notice that pixel flow, their marketing strategy is basically either giving you playables or just straight up showing you the gameplay. This is a little bit modified. It's, lacks the UI and everything, but still, this is the gameplay. Very exciting, I know. This is all you do. For those who didn't play the game, this is all you do. You select the colors and you just wait, and that's it. Again, I'm not here to judge. Meanwhile, Yarn Loop is doing something different. They are utilizing a more convenient, more traditional, basically, marketing strategies, which is showing something exciting, showing something appealing, not necessarily just the gameplay. You will not see this within the game, but it just look pleasing to look at as an ad, as a marketing strategy. This is more appealing to me personally. And then they have actual people advertising the game. They have different strategies. Now it's a guy, and then it's a girl. So more ways to get to the audience compared to pixel flows just showing you gameplay. So again, the difference is apparent, and now you understand that if you only were looking at pixel flow, you would have thought that this mix of female to male is standard, it's normal. And you would also think that the way they do marketing is the standard, because again, they're the biggest game. Obviously, they know the drill. Obviously, they know a thing or two about marketing. So the way they do marketing is just fine. So yeah, I think the idea of this first example is that you always have to look at a more fitting competitor of yours, because again, the biggest game on the market is not necessarily the one that you should be looking at, the one that you should be trying to analyze, because again, one, it could have a totally different audience. Two, it could have been on top for a long time just because they were the first ones to arrive there, just because they were early to the party and they were on the market for 2 years, for example. That's why they're the biggest game. It always makes sense to look at the ones that are newer, fresher, but still manage to get to almost the top in a very short time, because they are doing something right in a market that seems like it's monopolized by a single game, like again, like Pixel Flow in this case. So yeah, just try to think outside of the box and look at more examples than just the top game, the top competitor, the biggest competitor. Veronica, I think you're going next.
Thanks. In addition to what Kirill said about how to identify the competitors, the right competitors, and which performance indicators actually to look at, we at AppFollow believe that when analyzing competitors, it's important to take a 360 approach. In addition to analyzing their promotional strategies, it's very useful to actually analyze the feedback that their users are providing and to see which of these feedback points can potentially be transformed into some product action items, or maybe also promotional action items. So what I'd like to share with you today is how we can make this happen. And within AppFollow, we're diving into the benchmark report right away. This will be the place where you would compare your app against some of the competitors. And by the way, this list can be much longer, but I think the examples that Kirill has mentioned are really great and really interesting to look at. So we are choosing here your own application. Let's say you own Pixel Flow, and then Yarn Loop, which is the one we want to look at, Marble Sword, some other apps that we've identified already in AppMagic. And these competitors right now, through this benchmark report, we're looking at how they are performing rating-wise, how they're performing reviews-wise, feedback-wise. What are users actually saying? Is the support team and community teams of these games, is it engaged? Does it respond to the users? And does it have any effect on the feedback that they receive? So one thing we want to see right away is the actual rating of the application. How likely are you to download a game with a high rating? How likely is the store to show your application if it's 4.5 or if it's 3.1? So these parameters are super important. That's why we're moving them forward. So we can see here, for example, the pixel flow is really high in terms of the average rating, but Yarn Loop is winning, at least for the App Store application. Then for Google Play, it's a different story, but we want to take a look at all the stores they support, all the stores we can analyze here. So as one of the indicators, rating is really important, but another one is the reviews, the amount of reviews that they're getting. So we can see here, for example, Pixel Flow for the App Store, it has 6K reviews in a given period of time. At the same time, Yarn Loop has less reviews. But are these reviews better? Are these reviews worse? Are users mostly sharing positive feedback or mostly negative feedback? We're about to uncover this. We have the average review rating indicated here, and it looks like actually Yarn Loop users are happier than the Pixel Flow ones, because Pixel Flow's reviews are 2.5 points on average, the rating, and then Yarn Loop is much higher than this. So we already know that there is something that makes Yarn Loop users share more positive feedback. Let's try to understand why. Let's try to understand it a bit further. We have some other indicators that might be interesting to analyze, such as the sentiment score, for example, or the amount of bugs in the reviews. The sentiment score is the analysis of the language of the review. So the more positive it is, the higher that score is. If your users are only writing comments like, thank you very much, it's an amazing game, it's engaging gameplay, I love this or that feature or this or that part of the game, it's going to be 100%. It's never 100, but it looks like Yarn Loop is a champion among that list. It's 65% of positive language. And then it's 14% of bugs in the reviews. So among all the reviews that we've analyzed, we've processed, we've identified 14% of complaints. At the same time, for the Pixel Flow, it's 43. And for the Yarn Loop App Store application, it's also 37. So looks like App Store apps are a bit more buggy. And this is something that pushes us to dig a bit deeper in these sections, because so far it's interesting indicators, interesting numbers, but these are just numbers. We want to try and understand what are the bugs Pixel Flow users are complaining about. If we can, for example, in our application, avoid having these problems, it will be definitely a winning point. Same thing if there is a positive indicator for an application that is better than ours. Can we try and uncover their strategy to get to that point? And can we replicate it? Can we learn from this best practice? So in addition to these metrics that are a starting point for us and a food for thought where we would look next, we have another tool here mentioned that I wanted to mention, rating by countries. And you can also get an insight where you can still compete with a certain application. Maybe in the US, the Pixel Flow is a winning app, but at the same time, in a different market, they're losing. So in a different market, you can maybe get to their position. If you can't beat them in US, maybe you can beat them in UK. So these are some numbers that you can see from here. And then in order to actually review what users are saying and what are these bugs, what are these positive points shared, we can move from the benchmark report to a more in-depth analysis. So one of the tools that I wanted to switch to is the semantic analysis. And we wanted to have that yarn loop, which was really great and really praised by the users, becoming really popular. We wanted to see what are the things users like about it. And when we move to the semantic analysis, what is happening is that all the feedback that was received in a given time frame is processed. It's categorized into 4 buckets: bugs, monetization, reported concerns, so offensive or spam reviews, and user feedback. And we see that user feedback is the most popular one. So let's dive a bit deeper. We can see the thank you part. So the positive, the praise is again the most popular one. And if we want to learn what is actually said, we're just gonna go to the AI summary of it. You don't have to read through all the reviews they received to get to the main points. You're using the summary, and you can quickly go through that. Sometimes it's going to be quite generic if the users are not writing anything specific, if they're just saying the application is nice or they like it. But sometimes you can uncover the points that are really interesting to learn about. So here the users are saying, for example, there's an engaging gameplay, satisfying challenges, but then there are some problems, for example, that are uncovered and that are mentioned even in the positive reviews. So even though users praise the gameplay and the challenges in the game, they complain about the ads and the forced updates. So if this is a strategy you can avoid, and if the monetization issues users might be complaining about, or the monetization strategy that users actually like, and you learn about that from these summaries, is something you can replicate and you can learn from, that's amazing. But this is still quite a brief analysis of the feedback that we got. If you really want to have a detailed summary of everything, you can move to the reviews feed, where you get a really detailed AI summary of the feedback received in the application. Just for the sake of a different example, I'm gonna use Marble Sort, which is another competitor that we mentioned. So it's has the 10,000 reviews received in the past 3 months. So that's definitely a lot of things to uncover. We can see, again, there's quite a lot of praise, but at the same time, there are many technical issues mentioned by the users. So if you want to know, again, what these technical issues are, is this something that you can avoid with your product strategy, with your engineering strategy? Don't hesitate to dive into these details and actually read it. While it's loading, for those of you who are already using AppFollow, maybe you're asking yourself this question. For those of you who don't, I just wanted to mention that all these things that we're reviewing now, all these summaries, all these breakdowns into semantic categories, all these feedback insights, you can get them for your own apps. You can get them for your competitors as well. But it's important that the competitors are, in this case, added as your own applications, because there's a different level of analyzing the competitors. If for you the numbers are enough for just a high-level analysis to start with, you can get it in the benchmark report. You will see all these numbers. You will understand how other apps are doing. But if you want to actually see these comments, if you want to see these summaries, you need to make sure to add your own app as a competitor. Of course, you won't have any integrations. You won't be able to do anything with the game, but we'll be collecting these reviews and processing them for this categorization that hopefully will let you uncover the strategies of your competitors. Now, enough said about the feedback, enough said about the summaries and the analysis. Let's probably move to a different example, and I'm giving the mic back to Kirill.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that Yarn Loop has a better score, has a better rating. I enjoyed the game a little bit more than Pixel Flow. But yeah, adding to the point of why the analysis, the review analysis is important. So we recently did a research internally with AppMagic, and that data is backed up by just people on the market, you know, getting new players to play your game, and just marketing and UA is tough. and it's tougher than ever. So what developers are doing is they try to do anything and everything it takes to keep players happy and keep players engaged. So there's a if there's a little tweak that can help you retain more players because they will not, you know, just bug out of your game or something and it's a technical issue, or they're not happy with the specific monetization window, you better actually research that and have the answers. Because if this can save you 2, 3, 4, 4, 10, 15 players, you'll be happy because getting those 15 players back is harder than ever. So yeah, people are fighting to keep their players happy and engaged and retained. So going back to the to App Magic and the analysis, so the first mistake companies make is they analyze the biggest games, the leaders, which are not necessarily the right the right fit for them, the right audience for analysis for them. The second one would be a lot of the games, especially nowadays, are on the edge of different genres, right? Because obviously we as a company and other many other companies on the market, they do have this very rigid, very strict taxonomy system. So if you look at our taxonomy system, there are a lot of different tags. There are a lot of different genres here. One of the genres would be like tycoon. One of the other genre would be racing games, puzzle games, whatever. A good example of a game that transcends the genres would be a game called Top Tycoon. So if you look at the game, if you play the game, you would, and if you play the game for like a little bit, you'll think that it's a coin looter game, similar to Monopoly Go, similar to Coin Master, where the core gameplay is you doing this, you doing the almost the slot thing where you just have to spin the thing and get money and yada yada yada. But then you start playing a little bit longer and you realize there's a pretty deep meta gameplay, that of the tycoon games. And so now the question is, do you go and analyze all of the tycoon games, or do you go and analyze all of the coin looter games? Because again, if you look at the direct competitors based on the taxonomy, it's going to be all of the coin looter games. It's going to be Coin Master and Monopoly Go and Dice Dreams and Clash of Critters and Fish of Fortune, which is nice. But if you only stick to the genre, you'll be left out and you will not be able to, and like you basically forget about the meta gameplay. And for some people, for some players, the meta gameplay is what makes the game interesting, is what makes the game, engaging and fun. And so a lot of the players do not really enjoy the core gameplay. They just skip over it as quickly as possible and really invest a lot of the time, a lot of the money in the meta gameplay. So then how do you go and analyze the competitors by meta gameplay basically? So with that magic, you can do it with a tool called similarity graph, but don't be disappointed because the whole thing, that the similarity graph is based upon the Google Play and App Store's recommendation system. So what that means is if you go to Top Tycoon's Google Play or App Store page right now, you scroll down a little bit, there's going to be this segment called you might also enjoy, you might also like, or something. Basically, Google telling you or Apple's telling you, hey, buddy, you should also try these games. So this is where we're pulling this data from. And these are games that are similar to Top Tycoon in terms of the players, because Google and Apple is recommending all of these games to Top Tycoon players. So there's definitely an overlap in these players. And as you can see, not a lot of, in fact, not a single coin looter here. If you go for more games like 7,800, you will eventually start seeing coin looters, because then the game, there is a huge chunk of the gameplay which is about looting coins. But the main kind of competitors, the main thing here would be all of the tycoon games, because this is exactly what the bulk of the gameplay is, and that will be your, in this case, Top Tycoon's competitors that they should be aware about. Not the Coin Masters and Monopoly Goes, but these tycoon games. And they should look at their performance, and they should learn from their mistakes, and they should look at their marketing campaigns and do all that. But if you don't have the access to all these fancy tools and all of that, the easiest way you can find every competitor possible is, again, hopefully you have some sort of a tool to analyze the data. But what you can do is you can go and say, I want to analyze both the coin looter games and tycoon games. So that's going to guarantee that you have the intersection of all of the possible competitors, not just coin looters or tycoon games, but everything. So this is Coin Master and Golden Goblins, but also Pirate Kings, but also Idle Miner Tycoons. So every game possible, every competitor possible will be here. So this is pretty nice. And this just ensures that you're not missing on a single element of your game that is missing, or a single gameplay feature that you have, and that helps you to, again, always stay aware of your surroundings and your competitors. Because if the difference and if the nuances go deeper than just genres, so in this case you have the core gameplay, which is just coin looters, and you have the meta gameplay, which is tycoon games. But if it goes down any deeper, you can also use things like the keyword search, and we'll talk about that in a second. But basically, you can go and say, yes, the game I'm making or the game I have is a coin looter, but it's going to be about racing cars. And then you can use the keyword search to try and find all of the coin looter games that have racing car features or something, or racing features, racing gameplays and mechanics. So yeah, that's again highlighting the importance of viewing competitors from different angles and using different tools. Because if you only stick with one tool and one angle, one optic, you'll probably be stuck with the same competitors, same list of 150, 10 competitors. If you try to change the optics, you might see more competitors, someone you didn't expect to see. But at the end of the day, we're all in the industry. We only have like 7, 6, 5 billion people playing our games, so it's pretty much all the same people for a lot of us. And making sure that you understand that helps a lot with analysis and then overall game development. Yeah, Veronica, next to you.
Thanks. Once again, now that you've identified who the right competitors for you really are, and maybe you've done this first round of analysis of what are the feedback points that your users are sharing, their users are sharing, what are some troubles that their users are experiencing. Sometimes you want to track that on a regular basis. And one of the options that might be useful is not only proactively check this data from time to time, but making the process easier with some notifications. Again, this is an example of the functionality we have, but as a best practice, I think it can be applied to pretty much everything. I'd like to mention a feature called Feedback Summary. It's still related to the previous game that we've discussed, but I wanted to share this screenshot to show you the evolution of feedback that you may want to track and that you may want to receive. So this is something that can be done weekly, that can be done monthly, that can be done using a cadence that makes sense to you. So if you're doing this regular analysis of your competitors, and we know at the beginning of the presentation, you voted for one of the options, how often do you research the market? Depending on that choice, the cadence will be corresponding to that cadence of yours. Here you can see what changed in your competitors' feedback, what happened in your competitors' feedback, a short analysis of that with some examples. So it's always good to keep an eye on your own games, to be aware of the feedback that's incoming, to make sure your entire team is mobilized basically, and if something breaks, they fix it quickly. If something is really popular, you enforce that feature, you highlight that positive part of the game. But for the competitors, it can be a strategy that you apply as well. And this is the way you can pretty much see what's going on. So you can see the evolution of the feedback. Maybe they've started receiving much more reviews. So maybe they are requesting additional feedback from the players, a strategy that you could also use. or maybe the feedback became drastically better because they improved a feature and they released a new version of the game. This is something you're going to learn about from the summary, and you don't have to do it proactively. So it's basically something that you can set up and check on. And we know in many companies there are many games being managed. Sometimes there are publishers with different games that we also work with. And it's important that the product team members, the marketing team members responsible for specific games are also aware of what's going on in the competitors' landscape. So that's a way to stay updated without spending time proactively researching for the information, filtering for it, to just get these notifications. But in addition to the feedback, in addition to understanding what users are writing, what they're happy or unhappy about, there is another thing that we need to be aware of, promotion-wise, just market presence-wise, and something that you can also track. Let me reshare a different screen for it. I'll show you my screen live. It's called the app update timeline because it's actually a way to see the app updates from your competitors and your own app updates if you'd like to follow all of them, to track all of them in parallel. So again, to learn about the fact that your competitors updated a screenshot or they updated a version of the game and they fixed the bugs everybody was complaining about, you can use this tool update, app update timeline, and in general, following these things happening in your applications and in your competitors' landscape is really useful because a lot of these events would explain the popularity of the game that increased suddenly, or maybe a spike in negativity that also increased, or a better performance download-wise. So here, what we can see and what you can generally pay attention to are the events going on in your competitors' applications. You can see where they are launched or when they finished, in which countries it is available. So this is usually, it can be connected to the to what's happening in the game internally, but it can also be connected to the outside events, some country events that are going on, some Black Fridays, and so on. Then you can also find out if an application is featured, and that usually brings a lot of attention to the game. So again, feedback-wise, it can be a win or it can be a complete drop in ratings and review quality. Sometimes if a game is featured and then maybe there's a new feature that is released, maybe it was a buggy feature, so you will find out, but it's important to find out what is driving that additional attention to the application. So the featuring can also be a part of the things you track. And in addition to the featuring, in addition to the events, it's just actually what has changed. A screenshot was added, or it's just a description of the application that was updated. Metadata changed, so maybe some keywords were added, additional, again, screenshot, graphic materials were improved by a game you'd like to track and a game you'd like to learn from. So these are the things you can see for yourself, for your competitors, and as many competitors as you find relevant in a given country, or another thing you can limit, let's say, another thing you can focus on is defining the type of updates that you want to be aware of. Is it the featuring? Is it events featuring? Are you only tracking these things? You can definitely do that because, like I mentioned, in a lot of cases, it just explains huge changes in the game's popularity, huge changes and spikes in feedback, being positive or negative, or in downloads that you see. So all these things are something that you should definitely pay attention to in addition to what is being said. why is it being said, where does this feedback comes from, and this part, these kind of updates can partially explain it. So this is what I wanted to mention for these games.
Nice. And then the final example, the craziest one possibly, let's say you made a game, right? Looks pretty nice, it's pretty successful. The thing is, or you're looking at this game, you'll like this game a lot. But then the thing is, it has no competitors, or you have no competitors. Again, let's say it's your game. Checkmate, you've won. No one to analyze, no one to look at. You're the only. Again, these are the all of the merge horror games that we have in our system. One is that, the other one is this one, the Haunted Merge. So they, practically, effectively have no competitors within their genre, within their setting, within anywhere they look. No competitors at all. They are the only existing game of that kind. You look at their performance, they're doing well, they have a lot of revenue coming from the US and Taiwan. You look at their gender breakdown, you notice that a lot of the players are female, despite very spooky atmosphere and all the details and everything. Still, female audience dominates here. They love the thrill of a good looking horror merge game. Why not? Can judge them. But then again, you go to the similarity graph to try and find, maybe we are forgetting someone, maybe there's someone that I'm not looking at. And so you start realizing that a lot of these games, in fact all of these games, are similar to Hunt Merge. First off, none of them are merge games. Second of all, none of them are actually casual puzzle games. All of these games, or almost all of these games, are hidden objects games. Like this one, hidden object. This is a hidden object. It's predominantly female driven. What about the other one? Mystery Files, hidden object, 83% female. All right. And so you start seeing the pattern that even though none of these games are necessarily merge games, so the core gameplay is different, any gameplay you can think of is different. There are different genres completely. What kind of what they all have in common? This one is an escape room, not necessarily a hidden object, but still 74% female. So what all of these games have in common, again, if you look closely, is that they all focus on a lot of the horror components. There's like an investigation going on in a lot of these games. You have to find the murderer, or escape room or something. So there is this spook element. There is this the suspense that gets you going. There is this horror element, and the same goes for Haunted Merge. Because if you start scrolling through their screenshots, it's not just merge. You actually have to dig for answers, right? Here's your investigation. There's the decipher the puzzles. All right, that's easy. Scramble for clues. Again, you have to find the murderer. You have to find the hidden objects, the hidden clues or something. So even though on the surface the game looks like it's unique, I mean, it is unique, and they would think that they have no competitors. The reality is we fight for attention with some other games, and if another game from a completely different genre can give you the same experience, the same thrill of having an actual story, like the June's Journey, for example, would be a good example. It doesn't have the spooky element to it, doesn't have the dark vibes to it, but it is a very enticing and very compelling story that you want to follow. You can be a man, you can be a woman. It's just an interesting story. And so maybe a lot of these people play these games not because it's a puzzle game or hidden objects games or something else, but just because they have a compelling story or they have compelling elements to them that makes them, you know, just make them fall in love with the games. Maybe it's a horror, maybe it's the investigations, maybe it's something else. And so again, being able to think outside of the box and go and try to think who could be your competitor. Maybe it's not a direct competitor, but again, we are fighting for the attention. We are fighting with a lot of other social apps and whatnot. So being able to find these games that are seemingly irrelevant to Haunted Merge is what makes your analysis worthwhile, and what makes and what kind of fuels the analysis and market research. Because again, if you think within the box and you think that, all right, this is a merge game, I have to look at the merge games that have core elements to it, you're left with a single game, which doesn't help your case. It's just you're like, all right, this is it. This is the only game. And it also means that if you think that you can make a unique game, no one ever made anything similar. Again, maybe they haven't for a good reason, because it will not work, or maybe they haven't because there are the other games that, that convey the same idea or convey the same feeling in a better, more cohesive way. Again, for investigations, it could be hidden puzzles just work better. I mean, hidden objects just work better because there's this element of actually finding clues, investigating. And that's why people that enjoy those type of stories and gameplays, they mainly play hidden objects, because no one, no not a single other genre on the market can deliver the same feeling, basically. But then these guys took a bold move, and they were like, we're going to make a merge game where you still have the elements of clue finding, exposing the atrocities, and ward off demons and whatnot. And it paid off. Like, it actually works for them. Which, again, just like we said many times today, highlights the importance of trying and being able to find the right competitors, because it's not always on the surface. Sometimes you have to dig a little bit deeper into the data, into the market, into the industry, to find what will be the right set of competitors for you. So yeah.
Thanks a lot. To summarize and to highlight the thought we wanted to convey, it's really important to find the right competitors and compete against them, and also compare yourself with them, using the right indicators, looking at the right things. And if we need a subtitle or second title for this webinar, I think it could be, are you analyzing the right competitors? And then, are you analyzing your competitors right? So really important to look at the promotional strategies they're using, really important to look at their positioning, at who is their audience, and then also, of course, what their audience say about them, and is it in any way useful or relevant to your applications. We hope that you enjoyed this conversation and these presentations. Let us know if you have any questions, and we'll be happy to answer them. Looking at one. How can teams tell the difference between a competitor trend that matters and one that's just noise? I think both of us could look at this. Let me know if you have anything to answer to that.
Yeah, I think I have a very short answer. It's not going to be the answer most people expect, but a lot of the times there is no telling what's an actual trend, like what's actually is going to stay and be an actual next thing, and what's just noise. Because if everyone knew, if there was a way to decipher the signals and look at the market and say, these games will not last, even though right now they're making, or these trends or these mechanics, they will not last, they will not go on forever, and this is just a fade or craze. It would be, it wouldn't be fair. Like, you should have like a crystal ball sort of thing to tell, to be able to tell that this is actually a trend, and this is something you should pay attention to, and this is just noise, so don't think about that. So a lot of that is just trial and error, I think, or just not being excited by every single shiny new thing that's happening on the market. So give it some time and see if it's actually going to mature well, because a lot of the time, only time can tell whether or not something was a trend or craze, or like a, or something like this.
I probably just want to add one point to what you said. Identify the trend. For sure, you're not going to know if it's just noise or if it's the trend that matters, but track it continuously. And like you said, give it some time, return to it, and then you'll understand basically what it was. And if you can still join it, it's not too late. What are tips and tricks to find the competitors that didn't make it, to learn from their mistakes?
You mean how to find them? If you have a tool, a market research tool, it shouldn't be a problem. I'm not going to advertise and then saying names and telling you names. Like if you have a tool, it's pretty easy. If you don't, then well, that's going to be a little bit more tricky. But still, I mean, you can go and just Google things like merge games and see which ones are at the top of the top chart and which ones are not in top charts. The ones not in the top chart, it's still, like you said, it makes a lot of sense to look at why they failed, because if you look at all of the top games, you'll soon realize that they have A, B, and C, like the elements, the pieces are always almost universal. Nice presentation, good gameplay, good advertisement, and you feel like, all right, this is pretty easy. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do A, B, and C. But then if you start looking at the games that failed, you realize that they also had A and B and C, but something just didn't click for them, something that just didn't work out for them. So it's really important to try and understand what didn't work for them. Even if the game is still alive, download it and play it. It will give you a lot of the answers of what could have gone wrong, basically. Um, but yeah.
There's a couple more. This is an interesting one. How often should teams revisit their competitor analysis, and what should trigger a deeper review, a launch, a ranking change, a rating drop, a new market, or something else?
You want to start here, like a rating drop, ranking change? Do you think those
Um,
signals mean something?
to be honest, yeah, I can cover it at least partially. I wouldn't say there is an agreed worldwide agreed upon cadence using which you should analyze your competitors, but definitely a rating drop can be a signal, both your own app rating drop and a competitor's, a launch of a new version of an application, a ranking change, the featuring of an application to understand the reasons why they got featured, because it will definitely attract a lot of attention to them. So these signals can be something that will attract your attention and will make you analyze, make you review your competitor outside of the cadence. But inside the cadence, it's really your internal resources and organization. If you have a department, if you have a team to review it, on a weekly basis, amazing. If you don't, make sure you have these events identified, featuring rating drop, ranking change, launch of a new version, sometimes even update of the metadata, because it can also attract a lot of attention to the application. You have this somehow connected to notifications. You're aware of these changes and you're following these closely for your competitors.
Yeah, again, in line with that, I completely agree, and I feel like it shouldn't be a question. I feel like there should be a cadence that everyone agrees on, and I feel like the cadence should be every single second, 24/7. You never stop the grind. You never stop hustling. You get yourself AppFollow, you get yourself App Magic, and you just whenever you have the possibility to open two tabs, you do it, because again, you never know what's happening on the market, and it's always nice not to just react, but also be more proactive to the market changes. So even before your competitors are up, even before your competitors are making millions of dollars, being able to kind of predict that or expect at least that really helps you. Because yeah, that's something that the biggest companies of the world do. They have very intricate signal sending data. They feed off in their internal signals, internal dashboards. So whenever any of their competitor goes up one rank, one download up more than usual, they're like, "What the hell is going on? How do we combat that? How do we deal with that?" Basically. So yeah, the more data you get, the better. But again, don't just get overwhelmed. So learn to use the data correctly, basically.
use it wisely.
Exactly.
In case we're adding competitors, will AppFollow fetch all the reviews or only the recent ones? Short answer is all the reviews, but then a bit of a longer answer. It depends on your subscription type, but in most cases, it's going to be all the reviews.
Again, sounds like a great tool. Yeah.
It does. And then you get these competitors from AppMagic, you track them, you fetch the reviews, you're good in your strategies. Let me see. If we have any more questions, if you have any more questions, please let us know. Any questions, comments, feedback is very welcomed. Otherwise, we have some slides for you attached to today's event. You can get them. You can also get a recording of this webinar. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us. I will share my screen. It's going to look like this. We have Kirill's email. You can contact him to learn everything you want about AppMagic, get yourself an account, and everything AppMagic related, competitors research related. And you can also contact our department if you have any questions related to the app reputation management and tracking strategies. Any advice on that, we're happy to help with. So let's give everybody some time to send us some thumbs up emojis. And if there are no questions, thank you very much for joining. It's been a pleasure discussing this with you also, Kirill, and hopefully we'll speak soon.
Thank you. Thank you to Veronica and Olivia, because as you guys can tell, this whole thing was organized by the AppFollow. So they were the power force that made this real and basically willed this into existence. So yeah, shout out to Olivia and Veronica. Also Victoria and Anya from my team, but yeah, I'll do it separately.
Very much. And I think we're good to go. Thanks again, everybody. Make sure to use ventilators, air conditioning if you have access to it, or drink water. And yeah, we'll see you at the next event.